It's a very curious day in the world of Magic the Gathering. We've got more Modern Horizons 3 leaks. We have a very strange CFO Magic card. On top of that, one of the most absurd secret layers was just announced by Wizards of the Coast, and we have an update to Cynthia Williams' departure from Wizards of the Coast.
Magic. I am a wizard! History. I'm an old wizard! The magic historian. My bones hurt.
Greetings, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles, my friends. I hope the day finds you well because we have gathered for another cram-packed installment of Mega Magic News. Now, before we dive into the Modern Horizons 3 spoilers, the CFO craziness, and all the other things I mentioned, I just want to let you know, in case you're interested, that the Sorcery card game has just announced its brand new dusting player reward system, and that's something I'm interested in discussing because it really does showcase how much Magic has changed, and it illustrates something that Magic is currently lacking overall. So I'm going to be talking about their new system in a live stream tonight over on my other YouTube channel. I'll leave a link down in the comments if you want to come and check that out. That out of the way, I say we start by talking about the Modern Horizons 3 leak. And since I'm the guy making the video, I get to decide where we start. So let's take a look at these lands. We're starting out with Perilous Landscape. Now this is going to be part of a cycle. It's a land that taps for a colorless mana. That part's going to be exciting for Eldrazi players. The next part is tap it, sacrifice this landscape, search your library for a basic island, mountain, or plains card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. So you've got an evolving wild / panorama style variant, but it has cycling that specifically cycles for a blue, a red, and a white. So when you look at that, you go, well, actually, as an Eldrazi player, if you're playing an Eldrazi commander deck, guess what? That is a color limitation, doesn't fit into your commander color identity. So on one hand, Eldrazi players might like this, but not if they're playing an Eldrazi-centric commander deck with an Eldrazi as their commander. So like I said, this is going to be part of a cycle. I expect that there will be 5 different lands of this nature. It doesn't really make sense that they would just say, meh, we'll just make one. Because obviously when it comes to mana fixing and land bases, commander players are ever hungering for new options. This doesn't really feel like something that's going to make huge waves in Modern to me. It feels more like filler in that regard, but time will tell on that one. The other land that we have to talk about is a lot more interesting to me, and that is Nesting Grounds. So this is a land that taps to add a colorless mana. Again, hooray for the Eldrazi players. 1, and tap it, move a counter from target permanent you control onto another target permanent, and you can activate this only as a sorcery. Now it's fun to note, first of all, that this actually lets you move something from one of your cards to an opponent's card. Your first instinct may be, hey, I can just move all my boosts around, +1/+1 counters, first strike counters, what have you, even loyalty counters from one planeswalker to another. But at the end of the day, if you have negative counters, -1/-1, for example, you can just slop them on over to your opponent's stuff, which is pretty sweet. Now, it is reined in to a degree by the fact that it is sorcery speed, which I feel like is a good call. We've had cards in the past that let you move these like counters around, like Power Conduit, for example, was an artifact that cost 2, and it would let you move +1/+1 counters and charge counters around. But this is next level because it lets you move any kind of counters wherever you want to, including your opponent's stuff, just from the perspective of, let's say you want to enable Thunder Junction Crimes. You can literally move counters that don't matter over to your opponent's stuff. You can go, I'm going to take a loyalty counter off a planeswalker and move it onto one of your creatures. It won't give the creature any actual benefit, but you did just target one of your opponent's things. Now, I don't think this is really going to be used for Thunder Junction crime enabling. Things like Cauldron of Souls and other nuttiness like that would work better, but ultimately this is a land that you can use to cast spells, and later on you can be maneuvering your counters around. Indestructibility counters can be moved around, finality counters can be moved around. You've got a lot of different interesting options with it. The flavor text says, dappled coats become armored hides. Soft jaws become razor tusks. That feels a little bit weird to me, that part of the flavor test, where it's like your jaws aren't really going to turn into tusks. Don't tusks just, you're still going to need a jaw to chew and eat, right? Your jaws aren't just gone. Anyways, the flavor text continues. Nestling play becomes the fight for survival. Now, I don't really see that in the artwork. Admittedly, this is a blurry leak pic that's apparently blurring my tongue too. So I don't exactly know what's going on here. It kind of looks like black molasses is exploding up into the air as far as I'm concerned. So the artwork isn't super inspiring, but the ability of the card is quite interesting. Now, speaking of quite interesting, let's take a look at Deb Thomas. So, what is this we're looking at? 1 red and 3 for a legendary planeswalker. It's Deb. So she has, whenever an employee enters the battlefield under your control, put a loyalty counter on Deb Thomas. Create a 1/1 red employee creature token for her +1 ability, and then -X, employees and dogs you control get +X +0 until end of turn. So what exactly is going on with this card? It is a special breed. This is the first time we've actually seen a card like this. You might be thinking that this is a Heroes of the Realm card, the cards that Wizards makes to hand out to different divisions, and there's only about a dozen of them made with each individual names printed on it. But this isn't a Heroes of the Realm card. This is something completely different. The Heroes of the Realm cards have Hero of the Realm card backs, which are these red bordered, they state Hero of the Realms on the back. They do not have regular Magic backs. But this Deb Thomas card absolutely does. And it's unclear as to whether there's literally only one of these in existence. So Deb Thomas was the CFO for Hasbro, who retired at some point in 2022. So it looks like this card was specifically commissioned as part of that. Maybe it was given away to people who attended a farewell tour, but the artist who was responsible for the art on this card had no idea that it ended up on a Magic card. So this might have been some kind of underlying semi-secret project. I'm not 100% sure how this card came into existence, but it is obvious that it's a very rare and unique showpiece, and some people are getting pretty upset about the one ability on it, where it essentially, the -X, where it says employees and dogs you control get +X +0 until end of turn. Well, the idea here obviously is you put out a bunch of employee tokens and you crank up that loyalty, and then you use that, you expend all of that loyalty to give all of your dudes bonuses. Now, there's jokes going on that with all the layoffs and things, this should have probably had an ability like sacrifice an employee to create a treasure token, which would have been a lot of fun. But people are getting tweaked about the whole, wait a minute, why are employees and dogs being considered the same thing? Why are they being equated? All employees are dogs to me. It's the underlying flavor that some people are picking up. But more than likely, let's be real, it's probably just somebody knew that Deb likes dogs. Now, they didn't paint any of the artwork for some reason, but they decided, why don't we make a flavorful ability that ties into that? I enjoy the fact that the artwork shows her with this smile on her face, looking off into the horizon. She has some heavy Chandra vibes, doesn't she? I feel like you could swap the head for Chandra and it would work just as well. But either way, this card is to commemorate leaving Wizards of the Coast, right? And so you can see this looking off into the horizon with a big smile on the face, like, woohoo, happy to get out of this sinking ship. That is an extra, obviously that's not the initial intent, right? It's supposed to be she's heading off into retirement, but it does make me chuckle. Now, The next thing I want to talk about is the horrifying, incredibly off-putting new secret layer that they have done around the Instagram goblin concept. So we're going to start out by taking a look at Goblin Chieftain, because this, like, honestly, first of all, I'm going on the record and saying I absolutely do not like this style of secret lair cards. I accept that secret lair is a place to get out there and get wacky with it, and that's fine. But look at the way that they have set this up. So you can see it's done in an Instagram style setup. You've got like the profile picture of the Goblin Chieftain up at the top. You've got his casting cost off to the side. You've got his little tag for Instagram under his name. And then the artwork. The artwork to me is so unsettling. I understand that what they're probably trying to go for is somebody who's laying there with their cat or their dog taking a picture for Instagram. You know, he's got the blanket pulled up and he's there with his pets. But for real, bro, for real, this guy has super bedroom eyes, or he's completely cooked, but he has super bedroom eyes that make me go, what are you doing with those rats? Are you Richard Gearing with those rats? So like, the artwork is so unsettling to me. And the overall design of the card is strange. If you look below the artwork, you can see the Goblin Chieftain's ability listed there with the haste, and the other goblins you control get +1/+1 and have haste, right? And then you've got some hashtags after that. And then you've got comments underneath from, like, you've got the Goblin Welder, who is actually another card in the secret lair, commenting on it going blessed. And then you've got the only good part of this secret lair is the fact that Thrun the Last Troll is talking smack on all of them. Thrun is being a hater on every single one of these cards, which is genuinely amusing. For me, the most jarring part is when you look at the card, you go, wait, where's the power and toughness? And then you realize that the upvotes and hearts are what's supposed to, or not upvotes and hearts, upvotes and downvotes, thumbs up, thumbs down. Is that what's going on? That is that a red heart or is that a red thumbs down? I'm not 100% sure, but either way, those twos are what represent the whole concept of power and toughness, which is not immediately obvious. And also, the border of this totally leads to you going, wait a minute, what's the deal here? What color is this card? They're all goblins. They're all going to be red with the exception of Thrun the Last Troll, who has to be the bonus card for this secret layer. He's not included. I'm going to put the rest of them up here on the screen. Pay special attention to the Brash Taunter, because this is the one that I hate the most. The lifting the shirt with the ab shot, and then the Goblin Chieftain being like, oh, bro, you're so hot, fight me. I'm just like, what even is this? What is this energy? I really don't like it. I really, really hate characters on Magic cards holding cell phones. Like, I, again, understand that secret layers are a place to get jiggy with it, like Will Smith would say, right? But ultimately, this for me is such a huge fail, and I'm not alone in this. If you go and look at the comments, there are way more people who hate this than hated the Comic Sans secret layer, and I thought the Comic Sans secret layer was going to be what I hated the most from the secret layer super drop. But this card, I mean, like, you look at the different goblins, the faces they're making. The Brash Taunter is biting his lip and holding his jank bag phone. I feel older and older every moment I look at this. I am aging in real time, not at the normal speed either. I'm 5 years older than when I started this video. This definitely isn't for me. They've put if you look closely, you can see it's a broken glass, like you've dropped your phone as well. This is very much aiming for younger generations as far as I'm concerned, and it feels like Wizards is getting more and more desperate with what they're doing in that regard. But anyways, that wraps up talking about the secret layer. So let's talk about the Cynthia Williams departure, because I do have an update on that I feel is enlightening. So if you don't remember who Cynthia Williams is, she was in charge of Wizards of the Coast. but last month she announced her departure in what felt like a pretty abrupt manner. Wizards of the Coast didn't have a replacement that they were announcing, so we didn't know what was going on in that regard, and I just left it up in the air going, okay, is she fleeing a sinking ship? Is it retirement time? Well, ultimately, it definitely was the fleeing a sinking ship style scenario, because Cynthia Williams, and this blows my mind, is taking over for Funko. Do you know what Funko are? Those weird little plastic, like big-eyed, goof little statue things? Well, apparently, that company is doing horrifically. Like, they're doing so badly that to try and like cover for how badly things are going, you have people from the company going, look, man, the reason that we're not doing that well sales-wise is because of the Hollywood strike. There weren't enough new properties for us to make Funko Pops of. And like, I want you to understand, I'm not against Funkos. We have some Funkos. We have the cool Rudolph, like Christmas Funkos, and I have a couple Magic the Gathering ones, like a little Garuk and everything. Like, I understand the appeal of Funkos on one level, but they're super played out, right? Like, Funko is super played out, and it's massively on the downtrend. And I can't even see how Funko could reverse this, right? They're literally falling apart. But what does that say about the state of Magic the Gathering, where Cynthia Williams is like, okay, looking at my career from a corporate perspective, I want to have the best stuff on my resume. So it's like, yo, I can be like, hey, I was here while Wizards hit these banger sales projections, right? Notice how she ran out the door right before we're seeing this downturn, and Hasbro is saying, we project that our sales are going to get rougher for the next period. They're also touting Universes Beyond, but ultimately the underlying language of what's going on says things are rough for Magic the Gathering. And remember as well that they did that financial arcane trickery where they pulled the sales of Thunder Junction, which were supposed to count for the second quarter, and they shipped it ahead of schedule so they'd be able to include those sales in the first quarter to buoy up those first quarter numbers. Like, this year is going to be really ugly financially for Wizards, excepting with this particular quarter. Modern Horizons 3 is going to be the one shining star in all of this because it is being well received overall. Wizards is lucky too that Thunder Junction didn't perform as poorly as Markov Manor, but Modern Horizons 3 is going to be a shining star because not only the modern cards, but the commander decks have a whole bunch of stuff that are appealing to people, and they're working all the little knobs and dials by creating the collector editions, the price point of it. But either way, all that's coming together for a banger quarter. But think about the fact that Cynthia looked at the state of Magic the Gathering and where it was going to be and said, I'd rather be trying to manage the Funko company because there's nowhere left to squeeze for Wizards of the Coast, right? What are they going to do? Fire more employees? They're already running super bare bones to the point where we keep seeing mistakes. Remember I told you about the mistakes with the Comic Sans secret layer? Well, guess what? They messed up with the commander decks for Modern Horizons 3. Take a look at this commander deck. Have you ever seen a double green commander deck? Take a look at the little color pips on the front of this. Have you ever seen one that has double green in it? No, because that's not a thing, right? You don't go, this has twice as much green as everything else. So it looks like the employees are being run ragged. They basically have to edit the images so quickly that they're not even catching their mistakes. But either way, it's absolutely wild to me that the person who was in charge of Wizards of the Coast, that owns properties like Dungeons & Dragons, Magic the Gathering, which is the biggest earner for Hasbro by a long shot, by a massive long shot, she looked at all of that and went, okay, I think I'm going to leave to go and sell dolls. Like, that's the thing. When it comes to what we hear from the corporate people, we'll hear everything's awesome. You'll have the CEO going, you'll have the CEO of Hasbro going, you know what? We've got thousands of LGSs selling Magic, and they're all super happy with what we're doing. They were literally saying that when Markov Manor was setting game stores on fire and causing them to close. So you can't trust corporate speak to figure out what's going on, but you can trust the actions of the corpos to show you what's going on. And when the person in charge of Wizards of the Coast says, yo, it's Funko time, you know Magic has gone, like, she says, I'm leaving this funkiness for the Funko-ness. I can't get over it. My jaw dropped when I realized that she had moved over in Let Me Take You to Funko Town, because it's all the way down to a super frown. It's really bad. It's really bad, which makes me wonder just how badly Magic is going to be doing. I hope not too bad, because at the end of the day, I love Magic, I love playing it, and I want the game to survive. But between that and the awful Goblin Secret Lair, I'm losing my mind. So, like I said at the beginning, we're going to talk about Sorcery and its brand new player reward system / dusting system that they just introduced in like the last 24 hours. So if you want to check that out, it's all going to be on a live stream over on my Hatcher channel. And if you see this video too late to actually be a part of the live stream, it will be loaded up on my Hatcher stream archive so you can watch it there afterwards. Big shout out to my patrons for supporting my videos. You guys rule. And I will see you all, my friends, for the next video.